Are you struggling to return a Flux response in your Spring Boot application? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into how to properly handle Flux responses with Spring Reactor. I totally get it. It can be really frustrating when your code seems right, but the output just doesn't match your expectations. Many developers face this issue when working with reactive programming. Let's take a closer look at your situation. You mentioned that you're using Project Reactor version 3.0.7 and Spring Boot version 1.5.3. You have a method in your service class that returns a flux, but when you hit your endpoint, you only see a response with prefetch set to -1. This can be confusing, right? So what's happening here? When you return a flux directly, it doesn't automatically convert to a JSON response. Instead, it returns a representation of the flux itself. This is a common pitfall when working with reactive streams. Stick around. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to convert your flux to a proper JSON response, and I promise it will make your life a lot easier. To return a flux from your service to the controller, the user should ensure that the controller method is correctly set up to handle the flux type. This means the return type of the controller method should be Flux. Next, the user should check that the Flux is being populated correctly in the service layer. This can be done by ensuring that the Flux is created from a data source, such as a database or an in-memory list. Now, the user should ensure that the Spring Web Flux dependency is included in the project. This is essential for handling reactive types like Flux in the web layer. Finally, the user should test the endpoint by accessing it through a browser or a tool like Postman. The expected response should be a JSON array of the items returned by the Flux. Fun fact, did you know that reactive programming can help you handle thousands of requests simultaneously without blocking? It's like having a superpower for your applications. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach suggests that full reactive support is only available in Spring 5 and Spring Boot 2. While you can use Reactor independently, returning a Flux directly won't work as the framework doesn't recognize it yet. Instead, you can use Flux and Mono in your service layer and convert them to Spring 4's deferred result. This allows you to handle asynchronous responses effectively. Here's a pro tip. Always test your endpoints using tools like Postman or curl to see the actual JSON response. This will help you debug issues faster. And there you have it. You should now be able to return a Flux as a JSON response in your Spring Boot application. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks on reactive programming.